Yes, today was a hectic day, and I was glad that Sasha and Steve and definitely Jacoby were able to cover the news as well as our other Monday shows, Economic Monday and Media Monday. But they did a great job, and I appreciate that as I was given a talk in front of some archivists and librarians from North Carolina State, UNC, Central, and Duke. So that's what I was doing during that time frame and all along those lines. But there's a number of things happening in the world. So let's get to those things and see what is happening and talk about them. And we'll see if anybody else joins us or not. The undercover Israeli forces have said that they have killed 3 militants in a West Bank hospital raid. So that is something that we are seeing in the news. Apparently, the undercover Israeli troops dressed as medical staff as they were doing that particular raid there at West Bank Hospital. So that is something that is going on over there in the Middle East. So, of course, things are continuing to go in that area, and Israel is claiming that 12 UN aid workers participated in the October 7th Hamas attack. So, that is something that is going on, and definitely even Blinken says that he has taken a look at some of the things that are going on in that space and has made some comments around that as well. As a matter of fact, Blinken says the evidence of the workers taking part is highly, highly credible. So that is what Blinken says is that the evidence of the UNRWA staffers taking part in that horrible attack is very credible and all along those lines. So the evidence provided by Israel alleging that roughly a dozen UNRWA staffers participated in the Hamas October 7 terror onslaught is highly credible. That is what U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Monday as media outlets published additional details on the implicated employees, including photos from an Israeli dossier. And we haven't had the ability to investigate the allegations ourselves, but they are highly, highly credible, Blinken said during a press conference. Blinken stressed that the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees plays an indispensable role in providing assistance to civilians in the Gaza Strip and that no one else can play the role that UNRWA has been playing, certainly not in the near term. So that is something that is going on. And this highlights the imperative for UNRWA to carry out an immediate investigation and to address the allegations as thoroughly as possible, Blinken said. As further allegations swirled in local and international media about deeper links between the UN agency and the Gaza terror groups, Channel 12 News on Monday night revealed additional details about the 12 UNRWA employees accused of taking part in the October 7th massacre, including their photos. And that was from the Times of Israel, this particular story that I was seeing, and all along those lines. So definitely there's a number of conversations taking place in that area. And in other parts of the world, former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan was sentenced to 10 years in prison. What is the cipher case that led to the jail term for this particular Pakistani individual. And that's something that'll be talked about, I'm sure, in that area as well as in other areas of the world, especially since he was sentenced to 10 years for revealing state secrets ahead of that particular country's elections. And Hong Kong is to bring in new security law to follow China's crackdown. So that is something else going on in the Asian theater. So Hong Kong has began a legislative push to pass new national security laws. So that is something else that we are seeing and all in that space. Oil prices are steady as the IMF raises its growth forecast and the market braces for the U.S. response to that. So a new truce proposal is being studied by Hamas leaders. And apparently, that is something else that we are seeing and all in that space. And I think that I heard that that might be one that could be going for several months, but we'll see if this all plays out. And it's also supposed to be tied into some hostage releases as well. So definitely be interesting to see how this all goes and what is happening in that space and all in that way. U.S. and France are blasting an Israeli confab on Gaza resettlement, attended by the prime minister's allies in that area. So, Israeli defense chief tells the U.S. he won't allow rebuilding of settlements in Gaza. So that is something else that we are seeing in the news that people are paying attention to, and that folks are definitely looking at as they are examining some of the things that are taking place. And Israel is claiming that a tunnel ran through got through this Gaza cemetery that it destroyed, and a visit to the site has apparently raised more questions than answers. So that is something that is going on. So the Israeli military operation destroyed a Gaza cemetery. It says was used to hide a tunnel. So definitely that is something else that folks are paying attention to and seeing what's going on in that space. So apparently the war in Gaza is leading to deep divisions at Israeli universities. So we knew that it was leading to some conversations here in the United States, but apparently there are some stories that are saying that those are the only ones that are erupting over Gaza. So apparently there is some things going on at the University of Haifa and some of the other universities and educational institutions that are there in the Middle East. So that is something else that people are looking at and all along that way. And by the way, Hagari is saying that an estimated 2,000 Hamas terrorists have been eliminated. So that is something else that they are saying coming out of Israel. And it'll be interesting to see what folks' reactions are to that as well. So definitely there's a lot going on in the world and a lot of things that are taking place, including the fact that now apparently India is the I want to say it's the third largest economy or something along those lines. I did see a story that was talking about that as well. So we'll get to that. Yes, India is said to be the world's third largest economy by 2027, according to their finance minister. So the GDP in that particular area is to grow 7% plus and touch 5 trillion in 3 years. And India can aspire to reach a $7 trillion economy by 2030, according to their finance minister, and all along those lines. So we definitely knew that India was becoming more and more of a powerhouse, and this looks like they are definitely heading even more on that as well. And India's Modi is to bet on popularity over populism in the budget ahead of the polls. So definitely that is something else that is being talked about in that part of the world. So people are paying attention to everything from income tax relief to infrastructure capex push ahead of this year's interim budget there in the country of India. So that is something that we are seeing. And the NATO chief is discussing the future of Western support for Ukraine. So the NATO chief huddled with a Trump allies in a long shot Ukraine funding push. And definitely Secretary Blinken is having had a joint news conference with NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg. So definitely the Biden administration targets Putin's top priority, NATO. So it looks like there is some conversation around the role of NATO and all along those lines. And definitely there is a number of things talking about how Biden Iran won't be bullied by Iran. And definitely I'm sure there's some folks who are thinking that that is going on. And Italy is seeking to boost its African ties with a $5.5 billion funding plan. So the African Union Commission calls for a paradigm shift at the Italy Africa Summit. So as Melania embraces Africa, Europe is holding its breath. So Italian Prime Minister Melani's Africa plan swaps energy investment for migration curbs. So that is something else that is going on in the world and all along those lines. And a West African Brexit moment is what some people are calling it, is spelling trouble for the region. So apparently Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have left ECOWAS. So definitely Nigeria revokes the states for quitting regional blocs. So definitely does look like there is some division even on the African continent, which we know can happen as well. And the Iranian foreign minister is in Pakistan amid strained ties. So they are in Pakistan trying to mend ties following mutual airstrikes. So that is something else that we are seeing in that space as well. So definitely a lot of things are taking place in the world, and definitely I'm sure that there's a lot taking place in the United States as well, and we may get to some of them as well. Kim Jong Un supervised a new cruise missile test, according to North Korea. And some people are saying that North Korea has shared some ominous Kim Jong Un photos. So North Korea continues testing new nuclear capable cruise missiles and conducts two tests within a week. So that is something else that we are seeing, as well as we're seeing shipping facing lengthy disruptions as the Mid East fallout worsens. So that is something else that we are seeing. And Pentagon denies the USS Lewis B. Puller was attacked by Houthis. So Houthis target U.S. destroyer in the latest round of missile attacks and strike a British merchant ship. So Trafalgar is assessing the Red Sea risk after tanker was attacked by the Houthis. So definitely a lot is going on there in the Middle East as well. And Vietnam and Philippines have sealed a deal on the South China Sea security. So that is something else that we are seeing in the news. And all along those lines, if you're wondering about what's going on with Russia, I know that Sasha will be with us and he'll be having the Ukraine, Russia, China show later on this morning. But they're saying that Russia shows no willingness to return POW bodies from plane crash, according to Kiev. And Zelensky wants an air shield. So definitely that is something that is going on. And Kiev is saying that it has destroyed an Su-34 jet. And there are some folks that are saying that it is absurd to believe Russia will invade other countries. At least that's what is Moscow is saying in some of their propaganda. And NATO is asked to prepare for a Trump Putin deal, as Russia's is definitely launching more drone attacks and all along those lines. So definitely we're seeing a number of things going on there. And a news story that we were talking about on the All Around show yesterday evening. In Japan, foreign-born residents in Japan are suing the government for alleged racial profiling. So this is something that is going on in their particular part of the world as well. So definitely the notion of racial profiling isn't just an American sentiment. It is one that other countries are accusing folks of being involved in as well. But we'll see how that plays out in their court system. And the India's Navy has rescued its second Iranian flagged fishing boat hijacked by Somali pirates, and all along those lines. So definitely a lot is going on in the world, and definitely a number of things are taking place. So it's always good to see things that are happening and how they are playing out and what is going on in the world and what we can think about what is happening in the world as well. EU has threatened an Armageddon to force the vote on Ukraine aid, according to Orban. So definitely we are seeing that taking place. And French farmers are keeping up the Paris siege in a standoff with the government. So definitely farmers are blocking traffic near Paris with tractors before Macron's speech. So definitely protesting. French farmers are heaping praise on Clarkson's farm as they lead siege to Paris. So Belgian farmers are to block the Zeebrugge port as the French protests are spilling over. So that is something else that we are seeing in the news. And of course, we're seeing Ukrainians' latest challenges are festering tensions among some of the top leaders. So Ukrainian news outlets are asserting that AFU commander-in-chief Zelensky's resignation was discussed during a meeting with Zelensky. So definitely it does look like that particular commander will be leaving, and it does look like there was some things going on. And I guess some people are wondering if Zelensky fired that person or not. And Biden is sparking outrage with reports that he may not attend ceremony honoring troops and all along those lines. So parents of a soldier killed in Jordan have been reflecting on the loss of their daughter, and the Pentagon has identified 3 U.S. soldiers killed in the drone attack in Jordan. Biden's team is blaming Iran for Americans' death and all along those lines. So definitely that is something that we are seeing in the news as well. And over there in the area of Australia, a shark attack and took place at Sydney Harbor, and it left a woman with a serious leg injury as a woman was brutally mauled in the Sydney Harbor shark attack. And definitely that is something that I know folks are sometimes concerned about if they are going on those ocean trips, and all along those lines. So definitely that is some of the things that are going on in the world news. Let's see what's happening in the United States news as well. And then I might have a couple of spots to play, and definitely we'll see if anybody else joined us or not. But it's always good to bring up a number of things that are happening in the world and with world politics and just with world events. Don't forget that in the whole area of 5 o'clock this evening, we will have the show World Politics, and we'll continue some of these discussions as well as other discussions as well. Five men were arrested in the California desert, killing in a dispute over marijuana. So that is something that was going on there in California, as well as definitely some other things that are taking place. Marjorie Taylor Greene predicts the Maracas impeachment articles will pass the House without any Democratic support. So House GOP leaders are holding the press conference, and definitely House Republicans are moving closer to the rare move of impeaching DHS Secretary Maracas. So definitely this is something that is going on, and a lot of folks are paying attention to that as well. And brothers were charged after homemade explosives that were there in New York City. So, an arsenal of weapons were found in a New York City apartment, and brothers are facing 130 charges. So, Astoria brothers indicted following seizures of explosive devices and ghost guns, according to the DA in that particular area. And apparently, there was a weapon stash and also a celebrity hit list. So it'll be interesting to follow this story as it goes on. And speaking of celebrities, a judge is denying, and folks that are going through different things in their life, a judge is denying Alex Murdaugh's request for a new trial after jury tampering claims. So a jury in the Murdaugh case say they were influenced by the court clerk. So that is something else that is going on. And of course, Trump is in the news as well. So Trump accuser E. Jean Carroll says she would absolutely sue Trump again given the opportunity. And the jury issues a huge defamation award. Might not be enough to stop Trump, but apparently, I want to say the amount was somewhere in the neighborhood of $83 million. And we'll see what goes on if he appeals or how this whole thing goes in that space. And a U.S. Air Force pilot is claiming he's found Amelia Earhart's plane using sonar. So Amelia Earhart's plane has possibly been detected by sonar, according to an exploration team. And that was found in the depths of the Pacific after an $11 million search. So we'll see if this is actually the actual plane, because of course that would be a historical find and all along those lines. But of course they've got to do some tests and make sure it is actually the plane that Amelia Earhart used on some of her famous flights and all along those lines. But definitely it has been missing for a long time, and who knows, they may have actually located it in the year 2024. But only time will tell, and we'll see if this is actually the case or not. And a gunman demanded money from a drug dealer. This was definitely something that we were seeing in the news. And then he fatally shot three in a Coon Rapids home. So, a triple killer posed as a UPS delivery driver to get into that particular suburban home. So, that is something that was in the sad news that people were talking about as well. And an ex IRS contractor was sentenced to 5 years in prison for leaking Trump's tax records. So that is something else that is going on in the whole notion of what's happening with Trump. So Trump's taxes, so chronic losses and years of income tax avoidance. But definitely it does look like the contractor that released that is paying some of the penalty for that as well. A pandemic of snow in Anchorage sets a record for the earliest arrival. So that is something that is going on. A heavy snow in south central Alaska closes schools and contributes to a fatal collision in Matsu. Overnight snow dump closes south central Alaska school, sets the Anchorage seasonal record, and definitely plow crews are making progress in Anchorage, but officials say visibility remains a concern. And after 3 years of avoiding it, Biden finally decides to say Trump. So Joe Biden slammed as an embarrassment for calling Donald Trump a sitting president, and definitely uh, Joe Biden reveals what world leaders are telling him about Donald Trump. So definitely Biden hits Trump on mental fitness and desire to see an economy tank in South Carolina. So definitely there's going to be a lot of this back and forth as we head toward that November election that many people are thinking is going to be between the two of these gentlemen and all along those lines. In Florida news, the Florida police was among 4 killed in Palm Bay. Gunman's motive is unknown. The gunman killed a retired priest and his sister before fatally shooting his grandpa in a birthday party rampage that ended in a shootout with cops. So that is something that people are looking at as well. And the Supreme Court has set a date for a high stakes abortion pill oral argument. So the ACLU is warning the Supreme Court that the lower court abortion pill decisions relied on patently unreliable witnesses. So the DOJ and mifepristone makers are urging Supreme Court to preserve full access to the abortion pill. And this is definitely something that'll be on the minds of many as we're heading to that one particular one going to the Supreme Court. And the U.S. has tightened sanctions on Venezuela after an opposition ban is confirmed. So, U.S. reinstates Venezuela sanctions after top court upholds election ban on opposition leaders. So, Venezuela opposition candidate was blocked by a court, calling it a judicial criminality, and also saying that he won't abandon the race. So, definitely looks like Biden you're taking a swing through unfriendly Trump country, Biden to soak up sunshine and campaign cash in his Florida trip. So that is something else going on. And of course, President Biden's visit may cause road backups in the Miami area. So Biden is heading to the Trump territory of South Florida for fundraising stops. And the GOP border showdown looms between the Senate and the House. There is a huge wedge, I should say, between McConnell and Johnson, and that wedge apparently is Donald Trump. So, will Trump be able to kill a bipartisan immigration deal? Is what some people are asking. And key border deal negotiators say bipartisan agreement has been reached and could be ready in the coming days. At least they're saying a couple of days ago. Now, whether all this turns out to be the truth or whether we just have this as another issue that is a wedge issue, only time will tell. Illinois Election Board will consider whether to boot Trump from the ballot over the insurrection amendment. So that would be one of the bigger states should that take place. And I'm sure that there would be protests should that happen. But definitely there are some very areas that might be more red dominated, and there's some that might be more blue dominated in Illinois. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out in their legislature. But city council is posed to defy Eric Adams on 2 criminal justice bills. So, what does the How Many Stops Act do? And some people are looking at that and trying to figure out whether the police stops will be in the spotlight. And New York City Council is expected to override the mayor on a transparency bill. So that is something that is going on, and this would be the second time that it was overrid if it was to take place on this Tuesday. And a flood watch in Northern California. Prepare for heavy rains. A substantial atmospheric river will soak the West Coast this week, and strong atmospheric rivers are opposed to soak California, pushed inland. So we definitely have to see this all plays out. And it looks like the U.S. has charged an Iranian drug dealer and a Canadian Hells Angel over an alleged assassination plot. So Iranian hired a Hells Angel to kill a defector, according to the U.S., and 3 charged in a murder for hire plot against a Maryland resident from Iran. So definitely looks like the OG is charging Iranians and 2 Canadians in this murder for hire plot. And the family of a teen who died by suicide after a video of her assault was posted online is suing the school. So that is something else that people sometimes are interested in when we see things like that and all in that space. But the Adriana Koch family claims the New Jersey school failed to protect the teen who was driving to suicide from bullying. And I know we have a show here on the network that is called Where's the Love, that is about bullying, and that is on every Sunday at 6 o'clock. So you can keep that in mind because they oftentimes bring up bullying on that particular show. And as Trump moves to disqualify the Fulton DA, could an earlier misstep be the guide? So definitely it looks like the whole thing going on with Fannie Willis could be something playing on in what's happening in this whole notion of what's happening in Georgia, because we know Mr. Trump is involved in several cases, but this is one, and Fannie Willis is in this one, and is definitely getting some criticism as well. MSNBC's Joy Reid dropped the F bomb in a hot mic moment, seemingly blasting Biden for starting another effing war. So, definitely, she apologized for her F bomb during the live broadcast. And definitely, that is something that will be interesting to see whether she pays any price from that particular network or whether she is able to keep her various jobs. But definitely, apparently, she dropped the F bomb and was just worried about these various wars that are going on in the world. And in Texas, a massive fire has engulfed a chicken farm in Bryan. A huge column of black smoke rises over a burning chicken farm in Texas as officials warn the inferno will take days to fully extinguish. So that is something that is going on at the Brazos fire that is expected to burn for days. And Texas Governor Abbott claims that Biden is in violation of federal law as border surge continues. So Texas has seized part of the U.S. Mexico border and blocked federal border patrol agents. And definitely, Texas governor says he has plans to counter Biden taking over the National Guard. And the lieutenant governor in Texas says he will not stop putting up razor wire on the border after the Supreme Court ruling. So it does seem like we got some back and forth going in that area as well. And in Massachusetts, current and former Massachusetts troopers are among those charged in an alleged bribery conspiracy. So, 6 current and former state police troopers were charged in corruption conspiracy, according to the prosecutors in that area. So, that is something else that is going on in the news. And if you're wondering about space news, Crane's hosting Space Shuttle Endeavour into launch position at the Science Center. So, Space Shuttle Endeavour is hosted for installation in a vertical display at a Los Angeles Science Museum. So, definitely. It is preparing for its final liftoff, and it'll be moved to this new Science Center exhibit there in Los Angeles. So that is something else that is going on in the world. And of course, we've got another shooting as the Oxford school shooter's parents hid the gun in the armoire and the bullets under the jean and all in that space. So it's the day 4 of the manslaughter trial for the mother of the Oxford High School shooter. So Jennifer Cromley tells cops after the shooting, and this is over there in the Detroit area, and all along those lines, what her thoughts were in that particular case and all in that sense. So she was saying, I really wish we would have taken him home. So seeing her son in police custody just hours after he opened fire on his classmates in Oxford High School in November 2021, killing 4 and injuring 7 people, Jennifer Crumbley had a single question for her team. Why? Why? She asked her son as she sat in an interview room at the Oakland County substation in Oxford, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, and all in that space. So Crumbley is now facing trial in Oakland County before Circuit Court Judge Cheryl Matthews on 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for the 2021 shooting. It marks the first time a parent has been charged with manslaughter in connection with their child's mass shooting. The video, which was played during testimony on Monday, was filmed just hours after the November 30th, 2021 shooting. Seeing his parents briefly, the shooter appears to say, "Please take care of Dexter," referring to his cat, and I did it. So Oakland County prosecutors introduced the video in court Monday through testimony by Sheriff Office Sergeant Joe Bryan, a detective who was one of the people who met with Jennifer and James at the substation. Bryan described Crumbley's reaction after being told her son was the shooter as atypical, not overly emotional, but her attorney objected, saying he didn't know her well enough to judge her reaction. So that is something that is going on in the Midwest, and I know a lot of people will be following that as well. And apparently, he stole Dorothy's real ruby slippers. He thought they had real rubies. So that is something that is going on. So a dying ex-mobster who stole the Wizard of Oz ruby slippers is spared prison time. So Definitely looks like the No Place Like Home, the dying monster who stole those Wizard of Oz ruby slippers, won't be going to prison after he stole Judy Garland's slippers. So that is something else that we are seeing. And a northern Michigan man threatened President Biden, and definitely looks like he was doing some stuff in the bombing area as well, according to the feds. So the Michigan man has been charged over threats to kill Biden and Harris and bomb DC. That is something coming out of the FBI and all in that space. And as the Newton teacher strike drags on over there in Massachusetts, definitely that is something that is taking place, and people are paying attention as Newton Maurer mother has filed a lawsuit asking the judge to stop the teacher strike. So I guess there is some conversations even among the parents wanting these teachers to get back to work and all in that way. And Johnson says he intends to put a bipartisan tax package on the House floor. So that is something that is going on, and we'll see how this plays out even in the political season. And as far as the tax season kicking off, and definitely a lot of people are getting ready for that. So people are wondering how to get a faster refund and avoid those self-inflicted mistakes. So that is something else that is going on in the world as well. So, like I said, a lot of things are taking place, and the Democrats are betting big on rematches in 2024 House races. So, Democrats have launched their first slate of challenges in the fight for the House majority. They are targeting 3 New York House seats in 2024 red to blue list, and it definitely looks like they have targeted Toronto in the first round of red to blue candidates. So it does look like they are targeting some candidates that they feel that they can win and all in that space. So definitely a lot of things are taking place, and we'll be keeping track of them right here on POD TV. And by the way, Ohio may be following Alabama in using nitrogen gas for executions. That's according to some lawmakers in that area. So Alabama's Attorney General shares a grim prediction about executions with nitrogen gas, and definitely it'll be interesting to see what other people go into that particular way of doing that particular punishment and all in that kind of thoughts. But it'll be interesting if y'all have any comments. Just stuff let us know here on podtv.tv. And a explosion near a Sacramento County Sikh temple was caused by a propane tank. So that is what is going on. I'm sure that some people may have been thinking it was other things going on, but apparently it was an accidental incident in this particular case. So that is good to know that it was accidental and not intentional. At least that's what early reports are. And that is good to know. In the Philly police shooting of Alexander Spence, that is prompting some people to be looking for surveillance video demands. So definitely it'll be interesting to see whether those are released and what goes on in that space. And speaking of videos, the police have released video of another violent attack in downtown Cincinnati, Ohio. So police are searching for suspects after another attack downtown should not happen ever. And the recent assaults have prompted the Cincinnati police to call on judges to hold suspects accountable. So that is something else that we are seeing in the news. And in Virginia, police are hunting for a man who followed an elderly woman from a store and assaulted her. So that is something that is going on. And apparently this was in the Virginia Beach area. So definitely, you got to be cautious and all along those lines. And in Baltimore, Nick Bosby has been contradicts evidence at the Marilyn Mosby trial. So Baltimore Council President Nick Mosby's financial woes are highlighted during the testimony in his ex-wife's mortgage fraud case. So definitely some of these politicians are getting into trouble either directly or through their family members and all along those lines. So definitely that is something that we are seeing as well. And if you're wondering about the gas stove, it looks like the gas stove fight is finally flaming out. So there's even some stories that saying that Joe Biden is not coming for your gas stoves, and gas stove burners were sparked in the new federal rules. And Biden is to set efficiency standards for gas stoves amid the GOP backlash. A lot of the politics and political posturing is going on as well. So definitely it'll be interesting to see. And we did get a convict that was apprehended, an escaped Philadelphia teen prisoner, was captured by the U.S. Marshals, and the police have arrested the alleged accomplice of the escaped teen murder suspect as the manhunt continues. So definitely that is something that is going on. So I think they've caught at least one of them, but there's still others that might be out there as well. But that is something that we are seeing in the news. I'll get to a couple of announcement spots, and then we might have a couple of little bit of news stories, and then we'll get ready to get on out of here. But let's just check out a couple of quick spots. We might just play one of the old spots that Biden did. I mean, that Jeff Ahern did back in the day with Biden and Harris. So this is back in the day, and his thoughts around Biden and Harris. And I'm looking to get some more things from him as well. But let's check this out.
Hello and welcome to Newsday with Jeff Ahern. I'm your host, Jeff Ahern. Today's top story. If there is such a thing as foot and mouth disease, then Joe Biden and Kamala Harris must have gotten the version where it's their entire leg. With Biden, it's more of a staccato stupidity. Harris prefers a more robust word salad. So allow me to mash up their speeches and see if you can figure out who's who. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democrat candidate for the United States Senate. And we have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. I think that, to be honest with you, I do believe that we should have rightly believed, but we certainly believe that certain issues are just settled. Certain issues are just settled, like poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids, which is why if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black, you lying dog-faced pony soldier. Come on, man. You need to get to the go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home. So you go ahead and stack the spaghetti sauce at a store and a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who runs or brings out the carts on a forklift. What happened? Anyway, Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. But we stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv, but he will never win the hearts of the Iranian people, which is why it's time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. And we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women were created by the thing. And America can be defined in one word. Ask the Mafapanahawa. End of quote. Repeat the line. America can be defined in one word. Ask the Hamanafatupai. Let's go, Brandon.
All right, back to some more news stories and all along those lines. Got just a few more minutes, and then we'll see what folks have got to say about a number of things taking place in the world. Like I said, it's definitely the time for World Edition, which we do every Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock. By the way, we have a guest on tomorrow to be talking about some of the things going on with the homeless community and all in that way. By the way, a college-age male was found dead outside of a Purdue campus building, and that is something that a coroner has confirmed. And Purdue University police are investigating the death of the college-age man near Purdue's airport. So the missing Indian student in U.S. was confirmed dead, and all along those lines. So definitely that is some sad news coming out of the college world. UTEP is securing a $15 million NSF award to bolster its regional aerospace and defense manufacturing. So that is something that is going on, as definitely the Biden and Harris administration are announcing some regional innovation engines, as they're announcing new federal investments in those regional innovation engines. And it looks like Biden is winning battleground states and red states with research funds. It does look like he's going after folks with the research funds. I know he was in North Carolina recently, and I know that both me and Steve have talked about that, and it'll be interesting to see what folks' thoughts around that are later and all along those lines. The Boston Recreation Complex is to be used as an overflow shelter. So that is something that is going on as people are dealing with migrants that are being shipped from one part of the country to the other. So the Roxborough Community Center is to open as a safety net shelter, welcoming migrants sleeping at the Logan Airport. And definitely Michelle Wu caves to Maury Healy's plan to move migrants to Roxbury. So that is something that is going on in that part of the world. As, like I said, some people are shipping them from one part of the United States to other parts of the United States. Joe Bolton has put some damning predictions for a second Trump term. He's saying that Trump is unfit to be president in a new memoir intro. But he also says, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden, but what I see happening in 2024 makes me afraid. So former Trump official has outlined a nightmare scenarios for his second term. So that is something that else is going on in the world, and who knows, maybe we'll try to get him on the network in the not too distant future and see what he's got to say and maybe have an open conversation with him as well. High school students are walking out in response to a shooting that left a 15-year-old dead over there in the state of Washington. So a student walkout was held in response to a fatal shooting of 15-year-old Mubarak Adams. So a teen was fatally shot in West Seattle, was one of 9 siblings, according to Chief Self, and definitely that is something that people are talking about in the news as well. And San Jose protesters in California interrupted Kamala Harris's reproductive right talk and all in that space. So protesters demanded a permanent ceasefire, interrupting the Vice President Harris's stop in San Jose. So these were some pro-Palestinian protesters that were there. She was giving a talk on reproductive rights. And in Fulton County, that would be around the Georgia area, a cyber attack has hit the Fulton County where Trump faces election charges. So a cyber attack has brought down phones, the court site, and tax systems. So it does look like Fulton County has had a cyber breach. And I do know that Rex Lee oftentimes talks about cybersecurity on his show, Cyber Talk, and a number of other things as well. And the Democrats are dismissing Lindsey Graham's push for Iran war, feels macho. The GOP is targeting Biden after that drone attack killed 3 U.S. troops. And definitely even Tucker Carlson is ripping the effing lunatic Republicans on calls for Iranian military strikes. So Jordan drone strike tests Trump's America's first Republican. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the political landscape as well. And Ron DeSantis is still focused on Washington's problems. So DeSantis employs legislatures to back term limits for Congress and a balanced federal budget. He proposes amendments to return power from the entrenched D.C. elites. So he is definitely proposing federal term limits and a balanced budget, despite the fact that he is out of the presidential race. It seems like he's having some thoughts about some agendas for the national scene and all along those lines. So definitely it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and in that way. Let me get to some news in the sports and the entertainment world, since we're giving you a lot of news from the world stage and from the United States. Looks like if you want to go to the Super Bowl weekend holiday rates are varying wildly in Las Vegas. So definitely it looks like Las Vegas has sold out of the private jet parking for the Super Bowl. But there was an article in the New York Post said you don't have to worry if your name is Taylor Swift. So definitely that is something going on as well. And Justin Tucker is saying he's never seen anything like the pregame drama with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. And definitely he was saying that some of that was kind of silly. So definitely that was something that was going on as well. And the Lakers are defending Vanderbilt for his run-in with Brooks. So Lakers calls out trash talking Rocket after LeBron was smacked in the face and another player was pushed to the floor. So Dillon Brooks keeps his LeBron James feud going with taunting and a flagrant foul. So definitely a lot of people will also be paying attention this week to the 2024 Senior Bowl, since there'll be some top NFL prospects, including some Q quarterbacks and others as well. And the U.S. wins its first Olympic team figure skating gold. So the U.S. figure skaters were awarded Olympic gold. Canada was snubbed from bronze after a Russian skater was disqualified. So definitely that is something going on after that took place. And definitely a lot of people are paying attention to the Olympics and everything. And speaking of games, Dan Campbell admits a mistake in the third and goal run that led to a wasting of a timeout and everything. And that was definitely an amazing comeback. So now we're going to have the Chiefs against the 49ers in the Super Bowl and all along those lines. So that game will be coming our way, not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday. So I know a lot of people will be getting ready for their Super Bowl parties and all along those lines. So definitely this is something that people will be paying attention to. And a friend of or an acquaintance, I should say, of mine, since I definitely knew him in our Marquette days, had his debut spoiled, but apparently Doc Rivers is very happy after the Bucks debut, despite the loss to the Nuggets. So it looks like in his first game, at least he is happy with some of the efforts and is maybe even seeing some things that he can do to improve the team and all along those lines. So that is good news in that part of the world and everything. But that is just some quick news around the notion of what's happening in sports. I'll give you a little bit of entertainment news as well. David Letterman tells Taylor Swift NFL haters to shut up. Her Travis Kelce romance is a lovely thing. So Travis Kelce tells Taylor Swift, I love you so much in a new video. So definitely it'll be interesting to see if she's going to show up at the Super Bowl to cheer on Travis Kelce in that match and all along those lines. And X has lifted a ban on Taylor Swift searches days after fake images were spread. So definitely that is something that is going on in the notion of X, formerly known as Twitter. And Nikki and Brie Garcia were shocked and disheartened by the WWE sexual assaults and trafficking claims. Rob Van Dam says he was shocked by the Vince McMahon allegations. So that's another case where people will be paying attention to see how much of this is actual factually correct and how much and what the situation is and what goes on in that particular case and all along those lines. So definitely the record-breaking Sweets and Bluey named the most streamed shows of 2023 in the United States. So hopefully one of these days, some of the stuff from Pod TV can get on those lists. But we've got some serious work to do that, and particularly when there are some of the shows that had network kind of play, and of course they have some other things behind them as well, and all in that space. Because if I remember correctly, I think Sweets might have been a show that was on the networks. I'm not sure about Bluey, but hopefully some people will come out and tell me about their thoughts about that as well. So definitely it'll be interesting to see what goes on in that space. By the way, Run DMC's Jam Master Jay was gunned down in an ambush motivated by greed. And that is something else that is being talked about in the news. And there is the things that are talked about in that space. Run DMC star was shot by a godson after a drug deal dispute, according to what the courts are saying, and all in that space. So definitely it does look like people are hearing that particular case. And Princess Kate was released from hospital after abdominal surgery, and King Charles has been discharged from hospital hours after the Princess of Wales. So it does look like they might be doing some healing together in that space. And Sydney Sweeney wants you to drive out of her auto shop in a custom Mustang. So that is something that is coming out. And I'm wondering if Shaquille knows anything about Sydney Sweeney. So I'm thinking that this must be somebody that is located in Australia. But I have to find out more about that. And the Universal is planning a new Orlando theme park featuring Mario and Harry Potter. So Super Nintendo World will open in Florida next year. So that is something that folks might be interested in. And Cher is denied temporary conservatorship over her 47-year-old son, Elijah Blue Allman. So Cher's bid for conservatorship of her son was rejected by the LA court. So that's definitely something that is in the news as well. And Millie Alcock has officially been cast as Supergirl in the DC universe. So the new Woman of Steel is House of the Dragons, Millie Alcock. So definitely we'll see how she does playing that role as well. And Gail King, which is Oprah Winfrey, a happy 70th birthday. It's hard to believe that Oprah is getting up there in that age range and all along those lines, but she has definitely been a powerhouse for a number of years. And definitely there is a poignant video going out where Oprah Winfrey is reading to Gail King's grandson, Luca, in a very poignant video. And maybe we'll get that out there at some point and share that with y'all so y'all can look at it and enjoy it as well. And Issa Rae says the studio cancellations of Black shows have her considering the indie route. So you're seeing very clearly our stories are less of a priority. Issa Rae considers going independent after an HBO show cancellation. So definitely she's looking at that route, and we'll see how that plays out as well. And Sir Elton John and Bernie Taupin won the 2024 Gershwin Prize for Popular Songs. So Elton John has won again. He's definitely got a whole lot of awards to his name, and that is a wonderful thing for that particular gentleman who is still doing some amazing things in the world as a performer and all along those lines. So we're going to get out of here shortly. I know we've got Russia, Ukraine, and China coming our way at the top of the hour. So definitely a lot of things I was able to give y'all in the news on this particular Tuesday and all along those lines. Let me just give you a little bit of science news. Japan's moon sniper wakes up and shares new images of the lunar surface. So Japan is definitely in the moon race as well. So it is definitely snapping some photos up there. And NASA's LRO spots Japan's moon lander. So a drone video has shown the first ever view of a live newborn great white shark. So one of the holy grails of shark sciences. Folks are able to see that and actually to watch it. So that is some great scientific news as well. And NASA SpaceX NG-20 is launching today. So definitely it is launching a Northrop Grumman resupply mission to the ISS. So that is something else going on. And the James Webb Space Telescope observes 19 intricate galaxy structures in stunning detail. So if you're into science, there's a lot of science stuff that is going on, and particularly if you are into astronomy and looking out at the stars and everything. And it turns out NASA's Mars helicopter was much more revolutionary than we knew, and all in that space. So Ingenuity's mission ends after 72 flights. So and there's some news that the moon is shrinking, causing landslides. So that is something that is coming out of the news. And I did see some reports of that in both SciTech and USA Today. So the moon is shrinking, and it could hinder plans for a lunar base as well. So definitely it looks like our shrinking moon could cause moonquakes near the Artemis astronauts landing site, scientists are warning. So definitely that is something else that folks will be paying attention to, and definitely that'll be interesting. And a robot dog controlled by someone not on Earth for the first time in history. So the ISS astronauts control Bert the dog-like robot on Earth doing a simulated Mars mission. So it looks like they were controlling that dog from up in space, and that is definitely some interesting things going on. And astronomers are making an unprecedented discovery in the search for water in space. So Hubble has found a water-rich planet with a steamy atmosphere, and definitely that is something that folks will be following as well. As astronomers find the smallest exoplanet yet with water vapor. So excitement ground penetrating radar observation of the contact between the Western Delta and the crater floor of Jezero craters and Mars. So definitely NASA's Perseverance rover confirms the presence of an ancient lake on Mars, and it may hold clues to past life. So who knows, there might have been life up there of some sort or another as well. So there's definitely some interesting stuff going on in the world of science, and definitely that's some of what we're seeing going on. I'll just give you one other last news story from the world of science. An asteroid the size of 64 Canadian geese is to pass the Earth on today. So 5 astronauts, including one the size of a sports stadium, are expected to pass near Earth, but I don't think anywhere close enough to be causing any sort of damage. But it is to pass close to Earth doing, looks like it'll be passing later on today, but definitely folks are going to be paying attention to that. And astronomers have found a strange new type of star hidden in the center of our galaxy. So definitely there might even be some new things that are going on as well. Old smokers and squalling newborns among the hidden stars spotted for the first time. So a lot of things going on in the world. And by the way, if you're going up to Mars or the science, you might not want to be eating a salad. So astronauts may need to reconsider having salads in space, because eating salads on the way to Mars could kill astronauts, according to scientists. So that may not be a healthy option. It might be a healthy option here on Earth, but maybe not if you're heading to Mars. And I have to do some research as to why that would be the case and all along those lines. Well, it's been good giving you all the news reports on this particular day. I'm going to check over and check on what's going on with Ukraine and all in that space. And Sasha Starr, hopefully he'll be going that way. And we'll have a whole report on that as well. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of one of those fun clips that Jeff Ahern used to do sometimes just to get us on out of here and everything. So let's look at this thing that he had to say about another thing that was going on in the world, since he's always got interesting things. This is dated from some time back, but let's see what he had to say back then about Crypto Kardashian. I'm sure he might have some things to say, and I'm hoping to get some new clips from him shortly about Taylor Swift. But let's check this out.
Hello and welcome to the Newsday with Jeff Ahern. I'm your host, Jeff Ahern. Today's top story: Kim Kardashian just announced plans to launch a private equity firm, as she puts the ass in assets. Finally, a private equity firm with a solid Instagram presence. Always a good sign, too, when every news announcement of your new venture has to disable the comments section. Like most websites that she's on, you have to be 18 years or older to use it. But it's not rated X. This one is rated R for retirement. Not that you'd want to put your retirement money into it. Sorry, Kim, but you can't fix bad investment advice just by using Photoshop. The only people worse off than those taking Kim's financial advice are those who listen to Matt Damon telling them to buy crypto. Kim is calling her company Sky Partners, as in expect sky-high losses. But clearly, she's serious about it. Here she is wearing a black turtleneck in a publicity photo. She's a regular Steve Jobs if he had a really big rack and a sex tape. Maybe she will do okay. I mean, she's used to handling very big portfolios. And her double D CD is already perking interest. I'm just not sure we all need a private equity firm from the least private person imaginable. Maybe you should stick to the bed sheets, Kim, and leave the balance sheets to the professionals.